My new job requires me to work from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. But every midnight, my task is to hide in a special room. Quite the strange rule, right? Greetings everyone. You can call me Cole. It is a much shorter version of my real name since it is very long and difficult to pronounce. The story you are reading involves a real company, so to avoid any issues with that institution, I will only refer to it as such. Around the beginning of 2022 to this very day, the concerning problem of load shedding ravages the country I live in. Almost every day, for a period of 1 hour, the power goes out twice or thrice at varying times and locations indicated by an app. Most often, these interruptions in electricity supply happen during the night to avoid disturbing businesses' operations during the day, since solutions such as electric generators and green energy are still neither popular nor affordable. Consequently, crimes such as theft rose during the night and skyrocketed the demand for security, thus creating opportunities for employment. Therefore, after a long period of search and hardship, on the 7th of September 2023, I have finally found an employment with a very generous salary to support myself and my family of 4. The job? A seemingly normal position of a security officer, tasked to guard an indoor storage facility, all alone and during the night. My work days and hours are Monday, Tuesday, Thursday and Friday from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. The only concern? One strange and mysterious rule revolving around a particular time and also a particular place, approximately worded like this in my contract. From 12 a.m. to 12:59 a.m., be in the black room. Before 1 a.m., do not interact with anyone and do not leave the black room no matter the circumstances. Allowed to sleep in the black room from 12 a.m. to 12:59 a.m. Basically, that time frame serves as my pause, but for unknown reasons, I had to spend it in the black room. That depressing place deserves its name since it is a small room with its steel door and entire interior completely painted with the darkest black I have ever seen, so dark that it seemed to absorb and dim any source of light. Equipped with a black chair, a black clock, a metallic bucket painted in black and placed on top of a black cupboard, and even a black couch. The small place is also the control room from which I can monitor the entire facility. For other unknown reasons, I could only get my black uniform on the 13th and I started working the very next day. During the first night, I followed the rules and did not witness anything uncanny until I caught a glimpse of something strange on the monitors, active during the entire midnight. There was a bizarre phenomenon affecting the cameras turn by turn, translating into a severe distortion affecting the corresponding monitors in the control room one after the other. Something I could not identify due to the anomaly, moved around freely in the whole building, before stopping right in front of the black door at 12:58 a.m. and disappearing at 1 a.m. The camera in front of the black room also returned to normal functioning at exactly 1 a.m. Upon reporting the occurrence to my employer, he completely ignored it and just reminded me to follow the rules. What can I complain about? I desperately need this job, but also when I think about police officers, mortuary assistants, miners and graveyard keepers, and the things they may be confronted to, I end up with a conclusion that a job is a job, with its good and bad sides. Therefore, I need to remain a brave man. Yesterday on the 15th, the second night, consumed by my fear or my curiosity, I clocked in at 7 p.m. and planned to get a glimpse of the thing with my naked eye, by looking under the black door anytime it will pass by the black room. To my disappointment, at 11 p.m., I realized that the steel door does not have any space whatsoever through which I could see anything. Therefore, I settled for just watching the monitors, unprepared for what was about to unfold. Unlike the previous night, this time the distortion was accompanied by sounds coming from outside the room, noises of the storage unit doors vibrating at the passage of the unseen and unknown entity. At 12:17 a.m., the thing passed in front of the black room, and its doors shook too, prompting me to stand up in fear, my heart beating as I began to sweat. I tried to contact the authorities both on the radio and on my phone. Both had their screens flickering as they malfunctioned. I had to face the situation all alone. At 12:34 a.m., the intruder passed again in front of the black room, and that time, the door shook so violently that I believed it was about to come off the frame. Trembling in fear, I stepped backwards until I hit the cupboard behind me, and unfortunately, the metallic bucket fell from it and hit the floor, making the corresponding and appropriate loud sound that gained the attention of the intruder. Did I just interact? By the definition of the word, I did not. That was an involuntary occurrence engineered by my fear. However, the thing stopped moving. I looked at the monitors and saw that the camera in front of the black room was still affected by the entity with its corresponding screen flickering, and the door was still shaking, allowing me to confirm that the entity stood right there on the other side of the entrance. I remained immobile and silent, sweating and breathing rapidly until the vibration of the door and the distortion on the monitors both stopped at the same time. When I looked at the clock, it was 1 a.m. This time, I avoided complaining to my employer and submitted what I would call a clean report. To safely work, I plan on equipping myself with a few useful things before going back there. Guys, you know my schedule. I work during 2 consecutive days before a pause. On each day off, I plan on updating you guys on the events of the 2 previous nights. But for the rest of this beautiful Saturday, and tomorrow Sunday, let me enjoy the company of my wife and kids, the reason why I have to do this job. On Monday the 18th and Tuesday the 19th, I will be clocking in at 7 p.m. According to the app, in the area where my workplace is situated, there will be load shedding on Wednesday the 20th from 12 a.m. to 1 a.m. I will spend that hour in the black room. Wish me luck.
Never sleep in your car on a road trip. I'm from Connecticut. I was in a long-distance relationship with a girl from Georgia, and would often make road trips down to visit her. I don't really mind. I love road trips. I've driven across the United States and back, all on my own. There's just something about traveling the highways of the US by yourself that's just so freeing. And freaky. To save money, I would sleep in my car. It's not so bad, it's basically camping, in a metal tent. Makes you feel like you're really roughing it. I just recline the seat back, keep the key in the ignition just in case, and doze off. No, I don't put anything up to block the windows for privacy. Maybe I should have. The trip down south is a comfortable 2-day drive. My stop would usually be somewhere along the Virginia-North Carolina border. So, for my previous trip, that's exactly where I stopped that night. Rest stops were often less trafficked and thus quieter than truck stops. Normally I would have stopped at a Love's, but I was so tired that I settled for the first rest stop I saw. It was oddly vacant that night, with only a couple lone cars sitting forlorn under the amber street lamps. Most likely travelers with the same idea as myself. I pulled into a parking spot away from the others, under the shadow of a tree and far from the street lamps. I figured I would have more privacy there as opposed to being bathed in light. So, I did my usual thing, locked my doors, opened the window just a hair for ventilation, kept my key in, reclined the seat, and went to sleep. I was never interrupted on any of these car camping nights. So I never suspected anything on this one. Then a sharp tap woke me up. At first, I thought I had heard it in my dream. I opened my eyes, a bit confused. Since I was leaned back, I was facing the ceiling and couldn't see anything. I hear another tap. Like a tiny object hitting a hard surface. It came in an irregular rhythm. Was it raining? Was water dripping onto my windshield? I'm under a tree, maybe something fell from the branches. Maybe a squirrel or a bird was dropped something. What if a squirrel was climbing around my car? Or what if it wasn't an animal? The thought occurred to me that it might very well be a person poking around outside. What did they want? Were the doors locked? Yes. The keys were in the ignition. I can leave in an instant. Still, I lay there, completely still, pretending to be asleep. Pretending I hadn't heard anything. Hoping whoever it was, they would leave me alone. It was better to not find out. I was too afraid to find out. It was better to stay here in blissful ignorance. But I couldn't ignore it forever. Still the tapping continued. I had to do something. There was no way I was just going to stay there. I had to look. My heart was pounding. At that moment, it was deafeningly loud. Whoever was out there could probably hear it. I decided. I was going to look. I was going to raise my head up and see what was making the noise. So that's what I did. What met my eyes sent a jolt through my entire body. Every muscle fiber locked up in pure shock at what I saw. The faint glow of the street lamps cast just enough light for me to make out what I was looking at. There in the windshield, staring directly at me, was a face. Someone, I presume to be a woman, was lying on my hood, her face pressed right up against my windshield. Her face was completely still, locked in a permanent grin. I froze in overwhelming terror. The eyes I stared into appeared to have rolled back, showing only the whites. The nose was turned up, pressed painfully into the glass. The lips stretched wide, revealing horrid rotten teeth. Even in the darkness, I could tell her skin was sickly pale, contrasting her long, filthy black hair. Whoever this was, she was clearly not in her right mind. I don't know how long I sat there, too afraid to move. Finally, I got a grip on myself and shot my hand to the ignition. It turned over, making, in that instant, the most beautiful sound I ever heard. But I was caught in a panic as the car refused to turn on. Her grin, somehow, grew wider. It was almost as if the edges of her mouth were going off of her face. Her face was like it was stretched with pins. An unnerving, horrific sight, and I sat there, constantly turning the key back and forth. After what seemed like an eternity, I got lucky. I reversed as fast as I could, trying not to give this creeper time to try anything. In my panic, I remember activating the windshield wipers in a futile attempt to get her off. I thought, was I about to drive out of here with some wacko holding onto my hood? Thankfully, I didn't have to worry about that, because as soon as I stopped, the woman leapt off, landing on all fours. Seeing my opportunity, I shifted into drive and gunned it, right as I saw her reaching for the driver's side door. With my foot on the gas, I sped out of the parking lot. Behind me, I heard her let out a piercing shriek like that of an animal. I looked in my rearview mirror and for a split second I thought I saw her chasing me, running on all fours, her black hair swinging wildly around her. I couldn't get a good look, as I rounded a curve in the road leading out of the rest stop and merged with the highway. There, I picked up speed, and drove through the night. I did not dare stop again until I saw the morning light. But I was greeted by something at the end of the road, and it was a familiar face.
Every night at 3:33 a.m., I get a phone call. It's me, screaming. The first time it happened, I thought it was a prank. My phone rang at exactly 3:33 a.m., jolting me from a deep sleep. I fumbled for it, squinting at the bright screen and not recognizing the number. Hello? I mumbled, still half asleep. The only response was screaming. Horrible, desperate screaming. The kind that comes from someone in absolute agony or terror. It was a man's voice, raw and breaking. I hung up immediately, heart pounding. Adrenaline surged through me, and sleep became impossible. I blocked the number and tried to convince myself it was just some twisted joke. The next night, at exactly 3:33 a.m., my phone rang again. Different number, same result. More screaming. But this time, something about the voice sounded familiar. Too familiar. A chill ran through me as I realized I recognized the timbre and pitch. It sounded like me. I hung up again and turned my phone completely off. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped it. This had to be some elaborate prank. Maybe someone had recorded my voice and manipulated it. But who would do that? And why? On the third night, I was already awake at 3:33 a.m., staring at my ceiling and waiting. My phone was still powered off from the night before, sitting on my nightstand. It rang anyway. The sound cut through the silence of my bedroom, impossible and undeniable. I watched my dead phone screen light up with an unknown number. My body went cold as I reached for it, some instinct stronger than my fear compelling me to answer. The screaming was definitely my voice now, but distorted with an agony I'd never experienced. Between the screams, I could make out words. Help. Please. They're coming. Help me. Who is this? I demanded, my voice cracking. What do you want? The line went dead. I called my phone provider the next morning. There was no record of any calls at 3:33 a.m. According to them, my phone hadn't received any calls during the night at all. I changed my number that day, bought a new phone too. Money I couldn't really afford to spend, but I was desperate. At 3:33 a.m., the new phone rang. This time, the voice, my voice, was calmer, breathier, like someone trying to speak while hiding. Listen to me, it whispered. I don't have much time. I'm you, 6 days from now. Something's happening. Something's coming for us. The voice broke into a sob. I didn't believe it either. But you have to listen. Please. Who is this really? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. This isn't funny. Check your birthmark, my voice said urgently. The one on your left shoulder blade. The one shaped like a crescent moon. When we were 8, we told everyone at school it was a scar from fighting off a wolf. Remember? My blood turned to ice. Nobody knew about that stupid childhood lie. It wasn't something I'd ever shared with anyone as an adult. I made it up one day in elementary school, trying to sound interesting. How do you? There's no time, the voice interrupted. They found a way through. The tear is getting wider. You'll start seeing them tomorrow, in reflections first. Don't acknowledge them. Don't let them know you can see them. See who? What are you talking about? Just listen. When you start seeing them, you have to go to Lake Maris, the cabin where Dad used to take us fishing. Do you remember? Yes, but go there. There's a box buried under the big pine tree, 20 paces from the front door. Inside is what you need. A piercing sound cut through the call, something between static and a scream. My voice, the other me, gasped. They're coming. I have to go. Remember, don't let them know you see them. And get to the cabin. Please. You're the only one who can stop this now. Stop what? Who's coming? I was nearly shouting. They look like people, but they're not. There, the voice cut off with a choked sound. Then came the screaming again, more desperate than before. Wet, gurgling screams that suggested terrible things were happening to the source. The call ended. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. Or the next. I told myself it was an elaborate hoax, that someone had researched me thoroughly, found old school records maybe. There had to be a logical explanation. But the next day, I saw it. A flicker in my bathroom mirror as I brushed my teeth. A face behind my reflection, almost human but wrong in subtle, nauseating ways. Eyes too wide, smile too broad. It watched me for a split second before disappearing. I dropped my toothbrush and stumbled backward, heart racing. Throughout the day, I caught more glimpses. In store windows. Car mirrors. The black screen of my phone before it lit up. Always watching. Always smiling those two wide smiles. No one else seemed to notice them. When I tried to point one out to a coworker, she looked at me with concern and suggested I might need more sleep. That night, the call came again at 3:33 a.m. This time, there was no screaming. Just a wet, bubbling sound, like someone trying to speak through a mouthful of liquid. Then silence. I packed a bag that night. Told my boss I had a family emergency. Started the 4-hour drive to Lake Maris at dawn. The cabin was exactly as I remembered it from childhood summers. Abandoned now, windows boarded up since my father's death 3 years ago. I counted 20 paces from the front door to the big pine tree and started digging with a shovel from the trunk of my car. 3 feet down, my shovel hit something solid. A metal box, rusted but intact. Inside was a journal, my handwriting, but entries I hadn't written yet. Details of what was coming. How the tier between worlds had opened. How they were breaking through. And beneath the journal, wrapped in cloth, was a revolver. 6 bullets. A note in my handwriting, one for each of them. Last one for you. Don't let them take you alive. That was 2 days ago. The things in the reflections are no longer hiding. I see them walking openly now, wearing human shapes like ill-fitting suits. No one else seems to notice how wrong they are. How they move like puppets with too many joints. They're looking for me. I can feel it. The journal says they want to use me to widen the tier. Something about my specific frequency, whatever that means. If they catch me, more will come through. The journal ends abruptly. The final entry simply says, I failed. I'm sorry. It's your turn now. It's 3:32 a.m. as I write this. My phone is sitting next to me. I've loaded the revolver. 5 bullets for them, if they find me. And 1 for me, if they do. The phone is ringing now. I know what I'll hear when I answer. I know why my future self has been calling, night after night. I know why he screams. 10% of people aren't people at all. I'm an entomologist, which means I concern myself with the study of insects. Discussing my line of work tends to bore people to tears, but children are absolutely enthralled by what I do, which is why I started providing educational talks for schools visiting the local natural history museum. I loved inspiriting youngsters about the most fascinating biological class of the animal kingdom. Fascination and terror are not mutually exclusive, as I learned 6 months ago, and I'm starting to wish my disinterested friends and family were correct. It would be better for all of us if there truly were nothing extraordinary about insects. Following one of my museum talks in late summer, a schoolboy waited until his teacher was distracted by his classmates. Then he peeled away from the class to timorously tell me about his discovery of a new insect, one with wings colored a weird white and making a whispery buzzing noise that you only hear if you pay close attention. He wasn't the first excitable child, or even adult, to mistakenly proclaim himself the discoverer of a new species, but he was certainly the first frightened one. His fear piqued my curiosity, so when he told me to go underneath the pier at the local beach and see the white-winged insect for myself, I did just that. I was a good 100 yards away when I first clocked the white-winged bugs. They were emitting a nauseatingly intimate buzz, like paper crinkling in my ear canals, as if they were nearer to me than they seemed to be. I told myself they must be glasshouse whiteflies, but such sap-feeding bugs would have been entirely out of place beneath a ramshackle wooden pier. Besides, the truth of the matter was that they didn't look like whiteflies. They were about 4 times too large, and their shade of white was like no shade of white I'd seen before. Weird white, the boy had called it. Still, I dismissed that as a thought born of my sleep-deprived mind, much as I dismissed the alien crinkling sound, like no insect I'd ever heard. A whispery buzzing noise that you only hear if you pay close attention. The boy had been right again. I'd walked the pier dozens of times and probably never heard the little bugs, despite walking right overhead. It was only now, as I was looking and listening for them, that I had clocked them. Even if I were to dismiss those many oddities, there was no dismissing their method of retreat. The bugs dove into the sea. I must have paled. I'd never seen anything like it. Suicidal insects? I hypothesized, but I went over to the water lapping the shoreline and saw not a single drowned bug floating atop the surface. The flying bugs had swum underwater and vanished. My colleagues laughed about my flying aquatic insect, and I found myself laughing with them. Disturbingly, the memory was already muddying in my mind. It was a type of lethargy like none I'd ever experienced before. I honestly believe, had that little boy not revisited the museum with his parents a week later, my brain would have erased all knowledge of what I saw and heard. The parents chortled as their son talked about this brand new insect. They said he had an overactive imagination, and I gave a slight smile in agreement, but then the boy said something which chilled my flesh. "You've already forgotten, haven't you? That's what they do." His father scoffed. "They're just bugs, kiddo. I'm sure Dr. Farrow would be able to identify the species." The parents apologized for wasting my time and scooted their son away, but his words had dredged up that obscured memory of my visit to the pier. I remembered hearing a sound impossible to describe. I remembered seeing bugs, of an impossible color, dive into the water and disappear. Of course, as a scientist with beliefs still grounded in reality, I believed I might be having a psychotic break. The only way to be sure was to revisit the pier later that day. I went to the beach, stood at my safe distance of 100 yards, and watched the people walking the length of the elevated pier walkway. Below, there were no bugs, only a woman standing with her face craning upwards, so she could peek through the spaces between the pier boards overhead. She was flailing about erratically, steering stiff limbs and popping goldfish-like lips, as if having a soundless conversation with someone. I followed her eyeline up to a lady on the pier. She was conversing with her friends and gesticulating enthusiastically with her arms. The woman below was imitating the woman above. I decided it was like watching a baby learn from an adult, only this was a grown woman learning from another grown woman. Is it a woman? Came a horrid thought as I eyed the mimicker below the pier, and it brought out an involuntary whimper of terror from the pit of me. It was only a quiet sound. Too quiet for someone 100 yards away to hear. Yet, the imitating woman immediately froze in position, as if playing the children's game of musical statues. No more than a second later, she snapped her face my way. Her eyes were entirely white, only sclerae with no pupils. It was an impossible white, like the shade I'd seen only once before. And when pieces of the woman's skin flaked off, carried by the wind towards me, I realized they were bugs. I realized she was bugs. I hightailed it to the beach car park, too winded to scream. However, when I turned to look behind me, there was nothing but a concerned passerby, likely wondering why I'd been in such a panicked hurry to get back to my vehicle. There were no white-winged insects. There was no woman. From that day, I made a concerted effort to avoid the coastal town and pretend none of it had ever happened. Forget the bugs. Forget the boy. Return to ignorant bliss, contrary though that would be to my scientific principles. My fear overrode my curiosity. Forgetting worked, to an extent. The mysterious sludge returned to my brain, drowning my memories, a defense mechanism of the bugs, I've always believed. Nevertheless, while driving through a nearby town a few weeks later, I saw her crossing the road, the woman from under the pier. As I stopped, so did she, and her head turned to show me her eyes, which were no longer white voids. They bore brown pupils atop the white. She looked human, and she moved like a human, and I was sure she would sound like a human too. But I saw the falsity of those eyes and the smile below them, and when I really listened, I heard it again, that paper crumpling sound, worming its way through the crevices of my car's bodywork to drown the interior of the vehicle. The maddening hum of the white-winged water bugs seemed almost to carry, hidden among the static, a warning, seemed almost to carry words. "See you." I thought, for a moment, she would hurl her body onto the bonnet. My throat swelled and nearly closed up in terror as I waited for her to do so, and she certainly communicated that want with her eyes. Thankfully, she finished crossing the road, so I floored the accelerator pedal, believing I'd escaped her unscathed yet again. Then I looked into the rearview mirror and let out a terrified sob. Blood was trickling out of my ears. Her whispered, papery words had cut me. I managed to forget again, for the black memory sludge was a blessing as much as it was a horror. But there was no forgetting forever. I think, like that little boy in the museum, I had opened Pandora's box. No matter how many times I buried the bugs and the woman, something would ladle out the sludge to dish up the truth once more. That sound of crinkling paper pursued me, and whenever I sought the source, I would always see somebody who didn't look quite right, off-white sclera and strangely practiced movements. That was when I stopped hiding from it. I recorded audio of the strange crinkling sound in public, and I covertly snapped photographs of strange strangers. I pestered the other scientists about my findings, and it took only a week for the institute to let me go, prompted by a supposed concern for your mental well-being. Some of my colleagues promised, apologetically, that they weren't being obstinate or oblivious. They were similarly unnerved by my data on this unclassified species of insect, but a higher up at the institute had threatened them to leave it alone or be sent out the door alongside me. One colleague even mentioned he'd done a little digging and learned of similar incidents at other scientific institutes. My advice? Stop digging now, Dr. Farrow. Count your blessings. I've heard of researchers meeting worse fates than a forced resignation. I felt vindicated. Of course, it wasn't only a little boy who knew about the bugs. Powerful people are covering this up. People who, I fear, might not even be people. You see, for the past 5 months, I've been burning through my savings on a quest for answers. I've been traveling from continent to continent, country to country, city to city, and town to town. I've been studying members of the public for hours each day, recording them, photographing them, and verging on harassing them. I'll admit, I've barely slept, barely ate. And after collating data from 36,794 people over the course of 189 days, do you know what I found? 3,707 subjects had off-colored eyes or, when I really listened, emitted that paper crinkling hum, and they were always the people who regarded me with unyielding smiles and the highest suspicion. Many would stop in their tracks and whisper terrifying threats with their paper crinkling voices, slicing my ear canals and causing blood to trickle free. Once or twice, the more daring of them even charged at me, and I scarpered in fright. I found 3,704 human-presenting non-humans. 10%. 10% of people come from the sea as white-winged bugs, mimic our behaviors, then morph into us. 10% of people aren't people at all. Tell your kids not to stay out past 7 o'clock. Please just listen to me. When I was a kid, my parents used to tell me stories about the bonhomme scepter, or the 7 o'clock man in English, which basically is a sinister old figure who snatched children who didn't come home before dark. I always thought it was just one of those scare tactics adults use to make kids behave, something to roll your eyes at. And I did, until last month. Let me back up a bit. I, 27M, worked as a counselor at a kids' winter camp, and tradition wanted that at the end of each day, 2 or 3 counselors would tell the kids scary stories around a campfire while eating marshmallows. A classic summer camp stereotype, you might say, but incredibly effective at delighting the kids, and the bonhomme scepter was always one of the favorite. So, I'd tell the tale of a hunched old man, dressed in tattered black clothes, who prowled the streets and fields at dusk. According to legend, he carried a large burlap sack slung over his shoulder, big enough to fit a child. According to the legend, he'd walk the streets whistling. A sharp, high-pitched sound, to lure curious kids into the dark. Once they came too close, he'd snatch them, stuff them into his sack, and take them away. Where? No one knew. Some said to a hidden lair, others said to the woods. The stories varied, but the ending was always the same: the children were never seen again. The kids loved it. They shrieked and laughed nervously, clinging to each other as the firelight danced on their faces. But for me, it was just that, a story. I'd never believed a word of it. That changed on a bitterly cold night last December. It was a weeknight, and I'd been out running errands in a small Quebec town where the camp was located. Snow was falling steadily, muffling the world in a thick, eerie silence. The streets were nearly deserted, save for the occasional car crawling cautiously over the icy roads. My bags of groceries hung heavy in my hands as I trudged along the sidewalk, eager to get back to the warmth of my apartment. Then I heard a child scream, high-pitched and panicked, echoing down the street. I froze. It was the kind of sound that twists your stomach into knots. Looking around, I saw no one. The streetlights cast long, yellowish beams onto the snow, but the surrounding alleyways and doorways were shadows, dark and impenetrable. The scream came again, this time closer. Instinct took over, and I dropped my bags, calling out, "Hello? Anyone needs help?" No answer. The snow crunched behind me. I spun around, heart hammering, but saw nothing but my own footprints. The street was empty. Then I heard a whistle. High and sharp, slicing through the silence like a knife. My breath caught in my throat. It was just as I described it to the kids so many times. A chill ran down my spine, and not from the cold. I told myself it was just someone playing a prank, maybe a kid messing around. But then the whistle came again, closer this time, and I realized something else. It was coming from the direction I'd just walked. There were no footprints in the snow behind me. And then, I saw him. A figure emerged from the shadows of an alleyway, stepping into the pale glow of a street lamp. He was tall and thin, impossibly so, his body wrapped in layers of ragged black cloth that hung off him like a shroud. His face was obscured by the brim of a battered hat, but I could see enough to know something was wrong. His skin was grayish, stretched taut over his sharp cheekbones, and his mouth twisted into a grotesque grin that revealed teeth far too long and jagged to be human. Slung over his shoulder was a burlap sack. It squirmed. I was frozen, unable to look away as he reached into the sack and pulled out a small, pale human hand. My stomach turned as I realized it belonged to a child. The figure held the limp arm as if inspecting it, then glanced up at me. Though his eyes were hidden, I felt his gaze lock onto mine, heavy and oppressive. "You were out late," he rasped, his voice like the creak of a door hinge. He dropped the hand back into the sack, which gave another faint wriggle. "You shouldn't be out so late." I stumbled back, nearly slipping on the icy sidewalk, and bolted. I ran faster than I've ever run in my life, the sound of crunching snow and that damn whistle chasing me all the way home. I didn't look back. I couldn't. When I finally slammed the door behind me, I locked every bolt and turned off all the lights. For hours, I sat in the dark, trying to convince myself it was just a trick of the light, a figment of my imagination. But when I finally worked up the nerve to look outside, the snow in front of my building was undisturbed. No footprints. Nothing to suggest anyone had been there. Except for the faint imprint of a sack, dragged through the snow. I haven't told this story to the kids at camp since that night. I've tried to forget it ever happened.
No, I wouldn't ask a million times. We're just breaking all the rules. No, I never last for long, but I make this right for you. I know it's driving you crazy, calling me baby, you pussy. And girl, you wanna fall down over